Hey everybody, welcome into the latest episode of Before the Crowd with me, your host, Guy Monk. This week I'm going to be interviewing Karlyn King. So Karlyn manages the Academy of Music and Sound in Scotland. She is currently studying her PhD. Also, Karlyn is an ambassador for women in music all over the world. She runs workshops on equality and employment for women in the music industry. So I'm really excited about this podcast. We're going to be talking about the general outlook of women in music, how much employment there is, where we're going in the future, where we've been a little bit before. We're also going to touch on some common news topics of the time as well, actually. Looking into the Brit Awards, the lack of women that have been noticed in the 2020 Brit Awards, what that means for the industry, what Karlyn thinks could happen next with it, potential change, what we need to do, and we're just going to be talking all things music. Karlyn King, welcome.
Thank you very much for asking me.
That's all right, it's a pleasure to have you on here. One thing several things I'm sure we'll get through today is I wanted to kind of talk about what you're researching right now. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like we're just talking about, before we started recording, vinyl, your research into that, women in the modern music industry, the role they play, maybe how it's changed, what your current thoughts are.
Okay.
In fact, I want to kick you off with a question that's sort of been in the music news recently, which is the Brit Awards and kind of a lack of female nominees. I don't know if you've seen the headlines or the articles.
Yes, so because I'm part of quite a few of us got to be part of the voting academy this year, so I did vote for the current nominees. But you're given a sort of selection of people to select from in terms of who you think should be the nominees on the night. And without a doubt, in all of the mixed categories, so best song, best group, the gender balance was extremely male heavy.
Okay.
Yeah. So funnily enough, I did comment on this last night online. On the socials.
Okay.
And I did get a bit of a backlash from some men who are not in the music industry, might I add.
Okay.
Who were suggesting that actually the artists who are all up for nomination are just the better artists and who've produced the best work this year.
Okay.
And that it's nothing to do with gender.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, given all of the evidence that has led up to this point, I think that's wrong, and I think that it's a much more complex issue that we're dealing with at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, there's a report came out last year on the US Billboard charts that looked at the top 600 songs from 2012 to 2018. And even, people think, there's an abundance of female artists, particularly in the pop genre. The female artist ratio was like 25%.
Really? That low? I thought it would have been, like you said, the pop genre, you name pop stars, you instantly think of like Ariana Grande's, the Nicki Minaj's, or Jessie J's, all these kind of guys.
Absolutely. So even as artists, they are underrepresented, and it gets worse for songwriting, and it gets even worse for production. It's like 2%. So yeah.
2% of producers in the music industry are female.
So 2% of the credited producers on those 600 songs across that 7-year period were women.
Wow.
Or identified as women. Yeah.
Do you think that's because people are actively not employing women, or because women don't necessarily want those jobs?
I think that's a great question, and that's something that we talk about a lot in class. Is it that women are just not interested in production? Yeah. I think that's a valid point, but for me, I feel like it's because the door has always been so closed. Okay. And I've spoken to girls who have been on a production course. They've been like the one girl in the class. Yeah. And I don't mind telling you this. There was one girl that I was teaching who told me that there was one day that she was off class because she was ill. Yeah. And she was told by her friends in the class who were male, she was told that the lecturer had said, ask her to do your written work for you. She's good at that, nothing else.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a blow.
Yeah, and that's coming from an educator in a position of power. So...
And that can have a detrimental effect. Obviously, if that's the the image and the knowledge that that educator was putting out
Yeah.
to the next generation of musicians and producers, and then they think it's okay to go into the industry and say, yeah, this is the way you can treat women. I'm agreeing with you a lot on this stuff, and I normally don't with people. I normally try to play devil's advocate.
Right. Okay.
But I think like it's such a valid point, and that it's unbelievably small number.
Yeah.
And I guess obviously this is tying into the Brit Awards and why there's so few nominees.
Yeah.
So few female nominees, I should say.
Yeah.
But it was really odd because I'm doing the voting as well for the Brit Awards.
Oh, great, yeah.
I found it really odd when looking at female artists of the years, and I was really surprised that people like Bonnie Tyler were still nominated, and I have nothing against her at all. I think some of her music is great, but I was just like, really, Bonnie Tyler? Like, she's still being nominated?
Yeah.
I was surprised.
I think, was it because she did have some sort of release or some sort of greatest hits release? Was it something to do with that?
I think she just had a brand new album, but I suppose I was almost surprised that she was still being considered for that stuff.
Right.
Because I think maybe in some people's minds she's a bit of a name from the past.
Right, I see, yeah.
And then it was interesting because I was like, oh, Bonnie Tyler, that's interesting. And I think Catherine Jenkins, Sarah Brightman were nominated as well.
Right.
But then in the grand scheme, when you see actually there's so few women, I think I was surprised at the diversity in the music choices for the female artists.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be these, the pop sensations, like the Ariana Grandes and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the ones who win it, and that's why you expect it.
Yeah.
That's why I was so interested when I was like, oh, actually, maybe there weren't that many female nominees.
Yeah. But that's interesting that you think the ones that were nominated were perhaps from a different, well, I guess what we call era of music. And that's a whole other issue in terms of ageism. You know, the way we talk about Madonna, for example, and I mean there's some horrible memes going around of Madonna implying that she's so old now that she can't function and stuff like that. But I mean, you don't. Yeah, you really don't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you don't see the same sort of treatment of older men in the industry like Jagger or Richard. So we don't see them vilified as much as a woman like Madonna, who's the same age.
I almost think it's funny because when it comes to like Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, I think I don't think they're vilified, but I think people it's like common jokes about how much they've aged. But I think it's almost like a badge of honor for them because they've done so many drugs and done so many narcotics. It's like, yeah, they've got through it. God, look at their faces. They are old men now, but they're like, look, like this is our story. This is rock and roll on our faces.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Madonna, I know a few years ago, because she has I don't know, something like with her arms, they were wrinkled or she worked out or something, and everybody jumped on Madonna's arms. So I was like, does that affect her as a performer? I never really got that, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think the same, obviously, like it said, when we're kind of talking about ageism in music, and it vilifies those people, where do you think someone like Kylie Minogue, who has sort of overcome cancer, where do you think she fits into that category?
Wow. Kylie was a hero of mine when I was a kid.
Wow. I hit on that so early on. Okay. We can do a little vocal rendition if you want.
Well, I mean,
Continue.
Kylie looks incredible, and Kylie is great at what she does. Kylie doesn't try and reinvent the wheel. She just does what she does, and she's great at it. She is a sugar pop artist, and that's what she does. And that's what I think what she'll always do. And I think the fact that, she is so attractive means that she will certainly be a lot less targeted than maybe other artists, someone like Bonnie Tyler, for example.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks might be a good example here as well. An older lady in the industry who's also been extremely rock and roll, like we were talking about Jagger and Richards, and wearing that as a badge of honour. Stevie Nicks probably did more drugs than them put together, still standing, but still looks incredible. Yeah. So a lot less crucified by the media.
It's funny how that happens. I mean, I think it's the same with Joan Jett as well.
Yeah.
That I think she's like 60 or something now. But she's a rock chick.
Yeah.
And the rock chicks maybe aren't villainized, as you said.
Yeah.
Maybe as much as some of the pop sensations. I don't know. I think it's interesting. Like,
yeah.
Can't remember who it was. If it was like it might be like Victoria Beckham or some like A-list female celebrity. She said she can never wear the same clothes twice because if she goes out and the media just slaughter her, which I find is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's different rules, isn't it? According to what genre you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess kind of going back to the gender maybe gap then, obviously you were saying the 2% of producers that are female.
Yeah.
Is there like any kind of pay discrepancy between...
Yeah, so according to this report, there is a difference. But I mean, we've seen quite a lot on this in the past year, in that difference is throughout all industries. I guess the only industry I can think of where it's not like that would be the pornography industry.
Okay.
Where women are paid more than men to participate. Yeah, and there's this whole debate around that as an industry. Does it empower women, or is it degradation of women? Is it putting yourself in a position of danger?
What are your thoughts on that?
Personally, I feel like, well, I mean, we're totally going on a tangent here, but like, if you're going to talk about the sex worker umbrella, it's really vast. Yeah, it includes not only women engaged in prostitution, but also other things like strip clubs, webcams. There's this whole industry with all these sub roles within it. And I personally think that if it's consensual and safe, and it's a business transaction agreed between two people, there's absolutely nothing wrong, and these women should not be vilified. It's the oldest profession, apparently. And but again, these women are targeted, and there was a great documentary came out on Sunday there, the new Louis Theroux documentary on women in the UK who are involved in this industry, and they're just mothers, like they're single mothers, looking for a flexible job. They are young women who are students trying to support themselves living in London, stuff like that.
Wow.
So I
people
think
you
that's...
pass on the street, people who you might interact with every day.
Exactly, yeah.
In terms of like empowerment, when it comes to female artists, when you have someone like, say, Nicki Minaj, who, you know, maybe not necessarily, but any female artist who has, you know, like breast augmentation or any kind of cosmetic surgery, do you think that is through pressure of the environment and the industry that they're in, or is that a symbolism of their empowerment? Oh,
that's a great question. That's something we talk about in class
a
lot.
Maybe I should just come to one of your classes.
Yeah, I love that. I think... I certainly feel like these women are encouraged to do that, whatever aspect of surgery it is that they have. I think they're encouraged. I think now it's certainly part of the brand.
Okay.
It's expected. I think if you want to get that done and you're going to a good surgeon, by all means, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
So how do you think when you take someone like Ariana Grande, who was Hannah Montana, so she's gone from sort of being this, you know, sort of childhood pop sensation, childhood star, into now being, you know, one of the top female artists.
Do you mean Miley Cyrus, or do you mean as Hannah Montana?
Was it Hannah Montana is Ariana Grande, right?
No, that's Miley Cyrus.
That's Miley Cyrus. Yeah. So whoever, I don't know what the character was.
Oh, so Ariana was like a Disney...
She was like a Disney...
person, yeah.
Okay. This is not my my area of expertise. But I guess like it would apply to either example, you know, the childhood pop sensations, childhood stars who have now become pop sensations.
Yeah.
Do you think that expectancy is still there, or is that almost off-putting because you have literally seen them grow up?
Do you mean is it off-putting to see them be kind of sexualized young women, or...
Yeah, I mean, do you think the market strays from doing that to people, or do you think they encourage for sexualization?
It's all about the artist's brand, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. And for Ariana, it's very much bubblegum, nice, vanilla. Yeah. Okay. she doesn't put a foot wrong. So she's staying within that kind of Disney realm. For Miley, you know, she's a bit more rock and roll, you might say. She's diversified quite a lot. I really hope that has been her choice as an artist, and to determine her own kind of evolution. But maybe if we look at someone like Britney, you know, Britney was so young when she broke through. She's what, 16? Just 16?
Yeah.
And her whole look evolved as she grew up in that industry. She was absolutely encouraged to have surgery, without a doubt.
Okay.
And I definitely think the impact on her now, I saw her perform last year, and
wow. Okay.
she brought the Vegas tour to like UK arenas.
Okay.
And she didn't sing a note.
Really?
Yeah.
What, it was just all backing tracks, or just...
Yeah, it was completely backing tracks.
So what did she do?
She just danced and lip synced.
Mm.
And this is someone who, there's clear evidence on YouTube of a young girl who really had a vocal talent.
Okay.
And I just feel like the industry kind of took her and, you know, chewed her up and spat her out, made the money, and that was that. Yeah.
Do you think there's a male parallel to that?
Oh.
Or if not, do you think there's a reason that there isn't a parallel to Britney, of being, essentially, as you said, had a vocal talent, chewed up and spat out?
Yeah. I mean, the person that comes to mind would actually be Michael Jackson.
Okay.
To be honest. Yeah. Although I do feel like a lot of his issues were much more internal. But, actually, if we look at Whitney Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, so a young woman with a great vocal talent, encouraged to be kind of white pop, ultimately, on the first album anyway. And then she got booed at the Soul Train Awards because people felt that she was a sellout. She wasn't being culturally relevant to her own community.
Okay.
Potentially. And then there's this great interview with her where she says, someone asks her, does fame change you? And she says, success doesn't change you, but yes, fame does. And she said it tries to turn you into someone that you're not.
Okay.
So I definitely think that's an issue, and it's this identity crisis, and it's only going to get worse because social media allows for it to be so perpetuated on a daily basis that people forget who they are. And then we're seeing it in things like reality shows.
Okay.
I don't watch it, but Love Island, for
How
example.
are you justify that's not your show? But it's incredibly popular, and people watch it to laugh at it.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I'm sure there's people who genuinely look up to those people, sadly, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's a parody of what those people are and those relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
But I see what you mean about, if I'm understanding you correctly, about the identity, like an identity crisis of this is the person you think you should be and you're perceived to be.
Yeah.
And we're all playing, we might not even be aware of it, but we're all trying to act out roles.
Yeah.
Or become this different person.
Yeah.
I think it's, I mean, we could just talk about this for 2 hours, to be honest, because it's such an expansive topic. And even, obviously now we're just talking about maybe the gender gap between men and women without even touching sort of, you know, the non-binary community and everything that comes, I mean, if you 2% of female producers within that Billboard report was 2%. I don't know what a non-binary is. I guess 0, but I have no idea without seeing the report.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but we can only assume that it was 0. Yeah.
So kind of moving on to something which I want to talk about is your research, because you're on year 4 of a 6-year PhD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing vinyl research, but I'll let you kind of give us a rundown of what you're researching.
Oh, okay. So initially I just wanted to write something on the kind of resurgence of vinyl, and I was really interested in how it had sort of come back around. But since then, I'm in year 4 now, and it's just sort of grown arms and legs. So I've done 3 chapters so far. So I've done one on the gendered aspect, which only really came to light once I started to identify people for interviews and to give me opinions on this topic overall.
Okay.
And there was such a huge gap in terms of women who were collectors, record shop owners, vinyl DJs, so that spawned a whole chapter
Okay.
on that. And I've also done one on Record Store Day as a brand, because I teach arts development and branding, and how that uses this kind of concept of the real and the authentic ultimately to sell music. And I think that's a really interesting dichotomy. And also one on authenticity, where I'm looking at why vinyl is perceived as this more kind of true to the artist format.
Okay.
Yeah, and the kind of separatism of that between certainly the younger demographic and the more older kind of purist community.
I think it's funny how it's almost become fashionable, I think, now, and because it's overtaken the sales of CDs, right? So vinyl.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, the year before.
The year before. So vinyl outsells CDs now.
Yeah.
That is like the most bought physical format of music on the planet, right?
Well, not as much as streaming. So streaming's the most popular. Yeah.
But in terms of having a physical.
Physical
item. Yeah. And it's really funny because I think, like, I always remember being like 12 or 13 or something, maybe a little bit younger, and having a Queen Greatest Hits CD and just being like, oh my god, this is so amazing. And my dad caught me listening to it, and he was like, oh, Queen, and he just, I didn't even know this existed. He had this whole record collection and had, like, all the Queen albums and all this stuff, and I was like, wait, what are these? Like, I had no idea. Sort of, I must have been younger, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, I suppose. But between, like, kind of my dad growing up in like late 70s, 80s, where just everyone had vinyl, and then obviously CDs came in and streaming.
Yeah. And
now we're back to this, I don't know, I don't know if you'd agree, but I think it's an elevated form of vinyl where you've got people like Jack White and Third Man Records turning out new technologies within vinyl, because I know on I think it was the Lazaretto album he put out, on the, the central groove.
Yeah.
If you put the needle on that, it played a secret track.
Oh wow.
That you couldn't stream.
Yeah.
Or you couldn't get on the CD. So everybody went out and got that vinyl just to hear this particular track.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose it's sort of a resurgence.
Yeah, totally. And something like that is like scarcity. So you've got to buy the vinyl to get the track. And the hardcore fans will absolutely buy the record to get that. Yeah.
It's funny with hardcore fans, I mean, I'm not sure if you kind of, what your research goes towards on this, but I love, like, if you take like a band like Kiss, for instance, who are all about the brand, and they have something like 1,000 pieces of merchandise, and it's just Die Hard to the point of, like, any kind of vinyl to a Kiss coffin that you can be buried in, which is... Those guys are geniuses. Yeah. Like marketing geniuses.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's branding your lifestyle. So if you want to be buried in a Kiss coffin,
how amazing is that?
Yeah, indicating your loyalty and allegiance to that band and lifestyle and genre of music. Yeah.
Apparently they're doing a really cool thing right now where, because they're 70s or something, I guess, and they're retiring soon, and that's going to be them. But what they're going to do is, I don't know if you've heard of this, they're going to commission different Kiss bands across the world. So there's going to be the UK Kiss band, which is endorsed by Kiss, and then the US one, then the Japanese one, then the Korean one. Yeah. So they will never die. Wow. And then you're going to have the hologram Kiss band.
Oh god.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on... obviously, you're teaching branding, so what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, they are geniuses, yeah, and the same way that Elvis was. He blueprinted everything.
Yeah.
As far as holograms go, I think it's really, really interesting because it's this kind of hyper-real representation, and maybe if you're a hardcore fan, you would go along and watch a hologram and feel connected to the real deal, but ultimately, are they aware that this is not real? I think that there's a real PhD in that for someone. And I even saw some holograms recently of artists who are not even dead.
Oh. Why wouldn't you just go and do the show? I mean, that's just... Who was it? Who did you go and see?
It was at
or not see?
Yeah, it was the British Music Experience in Liverpool. It's like a kind of rock museum.
Yeah. Okay.
And they had a daily hologram show, kind of on the hour, every hour, of Tim Burgess from the Charlatans.
Yeah.
And Boy George.
Why Boy George?
They're not dead.
But you know, the thing with Boy George is, and I got to put together one of his shows last year, but it wasn't him performing, it was just a DJ set of Boy George. And it was just this fantastic cover artwork that they gave us to work with. And it was his face with like these enormously big hats. And then all the details were written like on the hats because it was so big.
Wow.
That's just like seared into my brain now.
Yeah.
So in terms of, because you work for the Academy of Music and Sound Scotland, can you tell us kind of what that is and what you do there exactly?
Yeah, so I do kind of freelance work for them. So I lead their BA degree in Music and Sound, and I also teach on other aspects of the course, and I also run my very own little short course called Women's Employability in the Music Industries, and the purpose of that is 4 days, and it's about letting women find their voice. And I had a conversation with a student earlier about this idea of I think certainly in this country we don't like to blow our own trumpet.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's part of being British, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
And I definitely feel like for women there's an extra layer there. So I get the class to kind of reflect on how far they've come. And the feedback is things like, I never thought of that as a relevant skill. I never really saw it as an achievement. Okay. So it's bigging them up, essentially, and then getting them to not only kind of write it down but verbalise it, and be in a position where they've got like a kind of toolkit where they can go out into the music industry with an informed understanding of what it's like and kind of where they might fit. And ultimately be employed in the music industry.
Great. So if someone were looking to go on one of those courses, what would be the best way to book it, and where are they based?
So they're actually based in Edinburgh.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. At the moment, maybe I'll branch out.
Okay.
Yeah. And they would just contact me directly. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
How long have you been running the courses for?
So it's been this is the second year, so like a year and a half now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the plan for the future? Is it going to be sort of a something that you would tour around the UK and go to different cities, or?
Yeah, we've been in discussion about this, and for me as a freelancer, that would be great.
Okay.
To kind of spread the love. And we also have a guest speaker usually on the last day as well. So it's always someone who's really established in industry. So I've had people who have worked with Eminem, Oasis.
Cool.
And kind of DIY artists as well. Yeah.
Do you find that a lot of women, perhaps, I don't know if they, particularly the ones who come to your workshop or even just in your experiences, do you think they're sort of devalued in the industry?
Yeah.
Or not seen for, like you said, you have to be like, no, come on, these are your skill sets. These are relevant skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about kind of always having to fight your corner, I feel. And in my own experience, I've definitely had to do that as well. Quite often, the only female at a lot of things that I go to. In terms of kind of vinyl, people are always kind of surprised that is my area of research.
Okay. Why?
I think because it's traditionally been quite a male-heavy kind of boys' club.
Okay.
So I'm constantly having to justify that.
I think it's maybe, I don't know, more of a male perception, but I think a lot of people sort of see gender as kind of, is a lot more equality now than there were years ago. So it's really interesting talking to you. And obviously, like, this is your field of research, doing a PhD, and there is still this gap between the two. Yeah. And I think it's pretty unbelievable, really, to be honest, but we're 2020 and this is still a thing.
Yeah.
So in terms of what you would whether it's your students or even just other females, if you were going to talk to,
Yeah.
maybe more, let's say younger, students, what piece of knowledge ultimately would you want to pass on to them? What one sort of golden nugget?
Ooh.
We can do like a top 3 or top 5 or whatever.
What I really think is knowledge is power. So
Okay.
do your homework. Yeah. Whatever situation you're going into, know your shit. If I can say that. Yeah. Because people will always try and correct you, devalue you, to use that word. If you can go in and really establish your corner as a person in the know, people will react to that.
So I can't remember, I think there's like some orchestra and the new conductor came up and no one was respecting him because he was like young, he didn't know anything about music, and he was like, God, no one's listening to me. So he was like, okay, let's take 5. So the band went on a break and with third violin along, he sort of detuned the A string, came back, they played half a bar and he just went, stop. Third violin, you're out of tune, and everyone was like, oh my God, and had so much respect for him.
Wow.
I don't know why, I just brought that story to mind. But it's a shame that as a female you have to over prep yourself in compared to, I was going to say your male subordinates then, your male counterparts. I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
So what do you think could be done to change this?
Ooh.
Is it just an attitude problem or an actual industry professional problem?
It's so embedded in the music industry, it really is. We need to be educating women who are coming up through the ranks in order to physically change the dynamic. Yeah. And also, what will you tolerate? What are you willing to tolerate and put up with? Yeah, I mean, it's illegal in this country to discriminate on various characteristics, one of them being gender identity, but it still happens.
Fortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose this sort of takes it away from the music industry more now, and I think it's society as a whole we have to look at, and I mean, the music industry is just such a small fragment of society as a whole.
Yeah.
And obviously correct me if you think I'm wrong, but like you said, when it comes to the music industry, you need to show people, no, this isn't okay, this is how we should treat people, the expectation. But I think that needs to come from society as a whole, in whatever walk of life it is, whether it's a corporate environment.
Yeah.
I mean, recently, like a lot of sports teams, or maybe, well, I say kind of a female sports team, or like having get like more TV coverage, more press coverage, more media, and it's just like that, it's female. It's like, but it's not. It's like if it's compelling to watch or listen to, it shouldn't matter, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
So starting to wrap it up a bit now, because I know you got to go soon. In terms of vinyls, can you give us top favourite vinyls maybe in your collection?
Oh, I love this question. Okay. Okay. So it does change, kind of, it fluctuates quite a lot. So number 1 is definitely Joy Division Closer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
It's always going to be number 1. Number 2 is MTV Unplugged Nirvana.
Nice. Such a classic, isn't it?
Classic.
Yeah.
Immortal piece of art. Oh god. Number 3. Oh god, I feel very unprepared now. I'm going to say Live Through This by Hole, because it is such a big impact on me when I first heard it.
Okay, how so? What was it?
Because it was like a 3/4 female band, making a lot of noise, and talking about issues that were relevant to me at that point in my life. So, yeah, definitely the pinnacle.
Fantastic.
For Courtney, I think. Jerry's going to love this, isn't he? We're talking about this. For I'm going to say Graceland, Paul Simon.
Nice.
I'm a huge Paul Simon nut.
Who isn't? When someone tells me they don't like Paul Simon, I don't trust them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not a massive... I preferred him solo.
Yeah,
His
me
solo
too.
career just...
Yeah. Next level.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, you felt bad for Garfunkel, didn't you? When they kind of
Yeah.
broke and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I love a reunion gigs when it's like, we all know who we're here to see. It's great. But he is,
Yeah.
That's like, for me, as a drummer, that would be like the dream gig
Amazing.
to do.
Yeah.
But also like probably one of the scariest.
Yeah.
I mean, like, oh my God, the people who have sat in this seat, like, don't mess up.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, so that's a top 4 so far, so good.
That's 4.
And number 5 would be?
Oh, God. I'm going to go with Thriller.
Ooh, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah.
And we briefly mentioned Michael Jackson earlier. But,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Thriller?
Because it was incredibly innovative artistically. The whole video concepts, the music video as cinema. Toto play on it. They have a house band.
Yeah, they do. Is it the whole album they do?
Yeah, and they've got guests like Van Halen.
Yes, because Van Halen did. Oh no, so I'm getting that wrong. I was gonna say Slash did a solo on Black or White. What did Van Halen do?
I Beat It.
He did Beat It.
Yeah,
yes, because that was I'm sure that was Jeff Porcaro on drums.
Yeah.
Who was obviously the Toto drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Van Halen, that's a good guest album, isn't it?
Yeah.
Together. I mean, what a track.
Amazing. Yeah.
And also just the artwork as well.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but it's iconic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Incredible.
What, in terms of, we could talk about a lot of this stuff, but artwork, when you're looking at a vinyl, I know obviously this is going to be genre specific.
Yeah.
But for someone who advises students on branding and artistic development, what do you think are some of the top things to focus on when doing an album cover?
Yeah, so consistency with your act, definitely, in terms of the genre and the message. Powerful, impactful, iconic, memorable. I mean, Thriller obviously is a great example of this. I just love stuff that no one else has done as well. So something like Nevermind, Nirvana, Baby and the Dollar and the Pool. No one had done that.
I remember hearing in an interview apparently the guy who was about Baby, that's like a pickup line for him now.
I bet.
It's like, that's me.
Wow.
Which I don't know if that's a good pickup line or a bad one. I don't know. You know that Naked Baby? Yeah, it's me. I mean, I can't say I've done it, so I think if I did, I'd be showing that off.
Yeah.
I think there's what I love sometimes about album covers, it's when people just completely break the mold of it. Like, classic example, the Beatles' White Album.
Classic.
I mean, obviously kind of Metallica did the Black Album.
Yeah.
But the Beatles, when you've got, I guess like such an iconic image of obviously like the Beatles' hair and then their transformations and as they changed throughout their career.
Yeah.
Even just classic stuff like Abbey Road.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's 4 guys walking across a street that now tourists pose on.
Yeah.
And apparently annoys the hell out of the locals who live down that street, which is great. But in that case, is it the band who make it iconic? Because it's the Beatles walking. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was I'm trying to think of a lesser known band of the 60s. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it the band that make it so iconic and impactful, or do you think it's the simplicity that makes it so great?
I think it's complex. I think it's the album, the cultural impact of the album, and then as a result, the art becomes iconic. Yeah. Okay. Same with like Pet Sounds. That's a pretty weird cover, but what he did with that album, compositionally and production wise, was incredible.
Definitely.
I'm thinking of Sgt. Pepper's actually, in terms of the message that the Beatles conveyed through that.
What would you say is the and that was actually, I absolutely love that. That's the first album I ever bought.
Yeah.
What do you think is the main message through Sgt. Pepper's?
Yeah, I think it's death and rebirth.
Okay.
The old Beatles are done. The boy band are done. The artists are here.
I know it's this psychedelic indie influenced trip.
Yeah.
Do you know my favourite thing about that album cover? If you look really closely at Ringo's face, he looks so unhappy. Like, he's like, why am I wearing this? He's in the pink suit, he looks so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like slightly shorter than the rest of the band.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh. Like, it's not his decision. The man who was like the photographer of the Beatles, you know, like was in A Hard Day's Night. And he like goes on his little Ringo solo trip.
Amazing.
Like, he always, it's a cultural thing now just to make fun of Ringo.
Yeah.
Which, like, honestly, I don't know about your thoughts on him, but I think he was a pretty decent drummer. He was great for the music.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, I suppose at that era, you've got guys like John Bonham.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, sadly, just lost him, but Neil Peart, who's just died, which I think, obviously coming from a drummer's perspective, but just for rock and prog music in general, was a massive loss.
Yeah.
67 years old.
Terrible. Yeah. That's really sad.
Oh, no. Right. Oh, that's actually quite a negative note to end on, isn't it? So tell us really quickly, so if people want to get in touch with you about the workshops or kind of anything else, through the Academy of Music and Sound Scotland.
Sure.
Is there a website we can go to, or what's the best way to...
Probably just reach out to me on Twitter. So it's Karlyn L. King on Twitter.
Karlyn L. King, fantastic.
Yeah.
Karlyn, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it's a great chat. Thanks.